I believe you had told Fox Business $86 billion was the estimate.
$86 billion at a minimum, I said. That's a minimum.
Okay, I was just quoting you. I just want to make sure that we're clear that I was quoting you correctly on what the baseline of that was. But I think in the question...
You were quoting me directly. You were quoting me directly. There was also a question that was asked by a CNN reporter.
Okay, got it. Yeah, obviously this is a huge interest.
Tom Homan doesn't hold back, does he? In a fiery live segment, the former ICE director takes on a CNN reporter, dismantling their arguments with precision and facts. This heated exchange left viewers stunned and sparked a national conversation about border policy and the role of media in shaping narratives. Stay tuned as we break down the confrontation, analyze Homan's key points, and examine the broader implications. The exchange kicks off with the CNN reporter asserting, "The Biden administration's border policies are humane and effective." Homan immediately challenges this, firing back, "If you call incentivizing illegal immigration and endangering lives humane, then you're part of the problem."
But after how many days will we actually start to see that happening?
Day one. Day one will be ICE officers across the country will be out on the streets. Right out of the gate, President has made it clear, and I've made it clear, the priority right out of the gate is public safety threats and national security threats. And there's plenty of them to find, right? I looked at the data under the Biden administration. The deportation of criminal aliens have decreased 74%. So we have all those folks that the Biden administration failed to deport, plus you got this over 10 million encounters on the southern border that they came across. We got a lot of them to look for too. So the public safety threats are plenty, and it's going to keep us busy.
This statement isn't just rhetoric, it's grounded in real concerns. Homan highlights a critical point. The surge in border crossings isn't a coincidence. Policies like ending the Remain in Mexico program and scaling back deportations have sent a clear signal to would-be migrants. The result? A humanitarian crisis that includes record-breaking numbers of unaccompanied minors and families making dangerous journeys. Homan's critique focuses on the unintended consequences of these policies. While they're framed as compassionate, the reality is stark. According to recent data, the number of migrant deaths at the border has skyrocketed, and many shelters are operating far beyond capacity.
Point. On this effort overall, in terms of what you believe you need, and you're obviously deeply familiar with how this works and what's ahead of you, you had previously said about $86 billion was the minimum this project will cost. Do you have a better estimate now as you've been developing your plan?
I never said $86 billion. That was a CNN reporter that said $86 billion. I don't know what that number is right now. Again, we're working on the plan. Again, depends on how many resources I have and what the cost is going to be. But I'll say this, $86 billion, I mean, what price you put on the young women that have been in this country? What price you put on, the lives of all these little girls that, there's numerous cases. What price you put on national security? Because we know a record number of people on terrorist watch that's been called on the southern border. We also know there's over 2.2 million gotaways. How many of them came from countries sponsoring terror? What price you put on the thousands of angel moms and dads who their children were by their parents because their children were killed by someone that's not supposed to be here? There's a lot of cost factor. Well, let me say this. This will be an expensive operation, but in the long run, it would be a huge tax savings on the American people, because right now they're spending billions of dollars on free airline tickets, free hotel rooms, free medical care. Not talking about our education system, our trauma and hospitals, and that's in perpetuity. And that's in perpetuity.
The CNN reporter then pivots, stating, "But isn't the U.S. obligated under international law to accept asylum seekers?" Homan doesn't miss a beat. He explains, "Yes, but there's a process. They're supposed to seek asylum in the first safe country they enter. That's international law. What's happening here isn't asylum seeking. It's exploiting the system." Homan's point here is critical. The asylum system is being overwhelmed not by legitimate cases, but by economic migrants coached to claim asylum as a means to bypass legal immigration channels. The distinction matters because it impacts both the integrity of the system and the resources available for those truly in need. To put this into perspective, consider the backlog in U.S. immigration courts. Over 2 million cases. Genuine asylum seekers often wait years for their claims to be processed, while others use the delay to disappear into the country. At one point, Homan turns the tables on the reporter, accusing CNN of perpetuating false narratives. He states, "You don't report on the criminal cartels making billions smuggling people and drugs. You don't talk about the children being exploited or the Americans dying from fentanyl. Why is that?"
The other question that I've heard so much about this is the massive impact that these large removals could have on the construction or agriculture or hospitality industry. Is that something that you're keeping in mind as you're making these plans?
Yeah, that'd be part of the prioritization, but let's remember it's illegal to hire an illegal alien and employ illegal alien because there are a number of reasons. Undercuts wages. People hire an illegal alien for a couple of reasons. Number one, they can work them harder, pay them less, and undercut their competition who has U.S. citizen employees. It's against the law to hire an illegal alien, and we'll be enforcing that law too because worksite enforcement is coming back. Where do I find most victims of trafficking? Forced labor? At work sites. And this administration stopped that. So if we're serious about human trafficking, both forced labor and forced, that's where we find the victims. That's where we save the victims. So worksite enforcement is coming back in a big way.
This sharp critique brings up a broader issue, the media's selective coverage of the border crisis. Cartels are profiting immensely from human smuggling operations, charging migrants thousands of dollars per head. Meanwhile, fentanyl, a drug largely trafficked across the southern border, is now the leading cause of death for Americans aged 18 to 45. Yet these stories often receive minimal attention compared to the political narrative. As expected, social media exploded following the segment. Many praised Homan for speaking bluntly, while others criticized him for being too combative. Regardless of where you stand, the exchange underscores a larger debate. What does a truly humane and effective border policy look like? Homan's take is clear. Policies must prioritize enforcement and deterrence, not just compassion. Without consequences, he argues, the cycle of illegal immigration and exploitation will only continue. Tom Homan's clash with the CNN reporter was more than just a fiery debate. It was a masterclass in addressing complex issues with facts and logic. Whether you agree with him or not, his points about enforcement, legal frameworks, and media accountability deserve serious consideration. What do you think? Is Homan right about the consequences of current border policies, or do you side with the reporter's perspective? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into today's most pressing topics.